Hi everyone, this is Sarah back in my Real Food Kitchen, and today I would like to show you how to make a cheese souffle. And one of the things that I'm trying to accomplish on my show is get people to make things that seem difficult. You know, anyone can read a recipe. If that were the case, then I wouldn't need to show you how to do most of the things that I show you. But sometimes you look at a recipe, like a recipe for a cheese souffle, which is about 6 pages long, and you go, I'm not making that. But the fact is, they're really easy. And if you're looking at recipes, for example, by Julia Child, Julia Child was someone who was meticulous and very detailed, and she wanted to make sure that she told you exactly how to do every step so that you could read her recipe and know how to do it. Consequently, her recipes sometimes end up being very long, and then they look intimidating, and they look like something that you can't do at home. So I'm going to show you how to make one so that you can see how easy they are. And if you've never had one, a souffle is sublimely delicious. I was going to say supremely, that would have worked too. So anyway, so you need a couple of things. So you'll need some cheese, and by cheese I mean Gruyere basically, or any kind of other really good Swiss. Comte is a good one. That's a French one. It's a Swiss style cheese that's actually French. But you'll need a good quality cheese, and then you do have to have a souffle dish. You can't really get around that. You need something with, you know, polished straight sides, because the souffle needs to grab a hold of the sides and climb up it. The only other thing that you could use is a charlotte mold, but I'm guessing if you don't have a souffle dish, you don't happen to have a charlotte mold. So you do need a souffle dish, and the first thing that you need to do is you need to coat it with butter, and then on top of the butter you need to throw some grated cheese and breadcrumbs. And you need to, don't overcoat it, because the point of the breadcrumbs and the cheese is so that the souffle can grab a hold of that and climb up the sides. So then other than that, it's milk, cheese, and eggs. So that's it for now, and then I'm going to join you over at the stovetop where I show you some of the techniques. But first let me show you the ingredients that you'll need. Alright, so we're back at the stove, and the first thing, or I should say the second thing that we're going to do, because first we lined the souffle dish, now we're going to make a roux. A roux is the base of many sauces and gravies. A roux is equal part fat and flour, in this case butter. And what you do is melt the butter in the pan. And I think we'll come back when that's melted rather than make you watch the butter melt in the pan. Alright, so the butter's melted, and then the thing with making a roux is you need to turn the heat off while you're adding the flour. And remember, they're equal parts flour, and so that was 3 tablespoons of butter and 3 tablespoons of flour. And now I'm going to switch to this tool that I've talked to you about before, which is a flat whisk, which is absolutely ideal for making sauces. And I like it because, I mean, normally a whisk would be big and bulbous like this, and you can't get into the corners of your pan with that, but this you can. Alright, so now I've got this roux, and if you can see over here, I've got milk that's boiling. And so I still don't have heat on this. And I'm going to incorporate some of the milk before I turn the heat back on. And now it's probably safe to turn the heat back on. And I'm going to enlist the help of my cameraman, who you can't see, but he's here, and he'll turn the heat back on for me on about medium. So that's all the milk, which was a cup of milk. And now I'm going to whisk this vigorously, and it'll get very thick. And that's what it should look like, but it shouldn't have any lumps in it. So you're going to use your whisk and whisk out any lumps so that it's a smooth, velvety consistency. And we're just going to keep doing this for a minute or two because we want to cook that raw flour taste out of our roux. All right, that's enough. I'm going to turn the heat down to low. And I've separated the eggs, and if you had a time to look at the recipe, it is actually 4 yolks and 5 whites is the recipe. Now it drives me crazy to have an extra yolk, and so I just throw it in here. And so you're the idea is that you add a yolk at a time, but my yolks broke as I cracked and separated them. So, just imagine you're adding the equivalent of 1 egg yolk at a time. And you want to get the mixture incorporated each time you do this. And you're whisking very quickly because you don't want scrambled egg inside your roux, or ultimately inside your souffle. All right, and I'm going to keep doing this for about a minute, and then we'll be done. And this part, if you're doing this for guests, this part can be done ahead of time. You would want to reheat it a little bit before you go on to the next step. But you have this part all done. All right, so now from here, I am going to whisk. I'm going to turn the heat off. I'm going to whisk, or I should say whip, some egg whites until they're stiff, and then I'll come back to the stove and show you the next step. See you in a sec. All right, so we're back. I'm going to add a little bit of seasoning at this point. I like about a half a teaspoon of cayenne, and then I like nutmeg. And if you've been watching my videos, you know that I'm fussy about fresh spices. So I'm grating my own nutmeg in here from the whole nut. And now, what you do, so first of all, here are my egg whites. As soon as they hold their form like that, they're ready. So you put 1 spoonful in here, and you gently stir it in. And then you add all the cheese. Stir it in. Incorporate all the cheese, which is easy to do. And then you're going to add the rest of the egg whites. And this part is just a little bit tricky because you need to incorporate them so that when the souffle is done, you don't end up with a, you know, a big mouthful of pure egg white. But you don't want to beat the egg whites down either. So I just use this sort of folding method. To gently incorporate them. There, that's good enough. And so now let's go back over to my tabletop and I'll put it in the souffle dish. I'm going to top it with a little cheese and then I'm going to pop it in the oven. All right, so we're back here with the souffle dish, the souffle mixture. Which I'm going to pour into the dish. And I do recommend a nice heavy pan, which that's a nice French cast iron pan, enameled. It's great for doing that kind of thing. So now I've got some parm that I'm going to spread on the top, which is going to give it a nice crusty top. And that's it. It goes in the oven. This part is important. It goes in the oven at 400. You immediately turn it down to 375. And it's not going to be done for 25 to 30 minutes. That's a matter of taste. I like my eggs really soft. I don't like them to be set. A lot of Americans like their eggs cooked more than that. So you will cook it for 30 minutes. I'm going to cook it for 25. The important thing is you can't open the oven, so don't get curious and tempted to see what's happening. You open the oven, you close it, and it's going to go. So don't do that. All right, so in the oven it goes. I'll see you in 25 minutes. All right, so the alarm just went off. I'm going to pull the souffle out. And I'm just going to be confident that it's done. Ooh la la, look at that. So this is the point where if you had guests, you would rush this to the table so that everyone can see it in this beautiful form and then serve it to them right away. Because as soon as you dip into it, it starts to collapse. Look at that. That is perfection. That is souffle perfection. If you could smell the eggy, cheesy, yummy smell I'm smelling right now. And there you go. I'm going to serve it with some creamy tomato basil soup. Yummy for breakfast, a brunch. It would also be excellent along a pot roast, sort of on the same order of that pudding they make in Britain, Yorkshire pudding. I have a friend from England who's in the pantry. You can't see her. Anyway, on the same order of a Yorkshire pudding, but it would be delicious with a pot roast. Great, so you saw how simple it is. Try it. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.